Welcome to the channel. I put a camera on the landing board of one of my hives the other day just to kind of show you guys what bees kind of do on a daily basis. I will highlight some different things that take place on the landing board, and just for fun, look on the back legs of the bees. They're packing pollen right now, and silver maple pollen is going to be a light yellow, red maple is going to be a gray brown color, and willow will be like a lemon or a dark yellow color, and dead nettle is going to be a bright red color. So they use this pollen to raise brood, which is their babies. So here you see an Undertaker bee. They actually remove dead bees from inside the hive and they throw them in the yard. She's dragging the bee down the board right there. She kind of falls off the front, and then she's going to fall off here again, and she's actually going to try to fly and carry that dead bee out into the grass and get rid of it. And this is their jobs inside the hive. And there will be more than one Undertaker bee. There's lots of them, and any bee that dies inside the hive, it's their job to get rid of it. So what you guys are seeing here is what are known as worker bees. And worker bees are all females, but they do not reproduce within the hive. The only bee that reproduces in the hive is a queen. These worker bees are exactly what they sound like. They're the workers. They do all the work within the hive. And what they are doing, these are the forager bees. And foragers go out into the environment and bring back stuff that the hive needs. And the two major things that they bring back are pollen and nectar. Pollen is their protein source, and it's very important in raising brood, which is baby bees. And nectar is their carbohydrate source. That's their energy source. And they will use this nectar directly. They can drink it, if you will, or in order to have nectar in the winter, when there is no nectar coming in from plants, they actually dehydrate that nectar and change it into what we call honey. So that is the bees' food. Honey is their food over the winter. Here in a second, we're going to have a red arrow appear on the screen and show you a forager bee coming back with red pollen on her back legs, which is pretty neat. And this is from a plant called dead nettle. And it's very important for bees in the early spring because it's very frost resistant and always provides them good pollen for raising their babies. In a second here, you should draw your attention to the landing board. There's going to be a dead bee that appears on it, and this bee is going to be pretty big. And what you're actually seeing is a dead drone. Now, the drone is the male bee for the hive. There it is. It's laying right there right now, and the bees are kind of walking over it. This drone has only one purpose, and that is to go out and mate with other virgin queens from other swarms or hives that are around the area. It literally does nothing inside the hive except for goes out and flies during the day to try to find a queen to mate with. Typically they are killed off right before winter because these bees don't want to be feeding drones all winter long, but occasionally a couple drones will sneak through and will actually overwinter with the worker bees inside the hive. Another cool thing about drones is they do not have a stinger. at all. And when they actually do mate with the queen, when they're out, flying around mating with queens, they actually die after they've mated her. So you may notice that it looks like some bees are coming back with nothing, but they actually are coming back with a number of different things. You can see pollen on the backs of bees. Sometimes you can see propolis, which is a kind of sticky, gooey resin that the bees use to close up cracks and kind of cement and glue things together inside the hive. It's actually, propolis is antiseptic, it's antifungal, antibacterial, and it's even used now. Some people take propolis and use it as a almost like a dietary supplement. And some other things that the bees might be bringing back, even though you can't see it, is nectar. They'll suck nectar into basically their mouth, and bring that back. They could also be bringing back water. They could be bringing back brood rearing minerals. Bees will kind of go out and dig in dirt and other weird things and find certain minerals that they may need inside the hive to rear their brood. So inside of beehives, everyone's obviously heard of beeswax or honeycomb. And this is actually made by the bees using special glands in their bodies, and they use nectar or they could even use sugar water, and they secrete wax, and then they build it into honeycombs. And honeycombs are how the bees store everything inside the hive. They raise their brood inside the cells of honeycombs. They store pollen inside the cells of honeycombs. They store nectar inside cells of honeycombs, and they will eventually dehydrate nectar and it'll change into honey, and they will store that inside of what we know as honeycombs. So the spring is an exciting time for a beehive or a bee colony because it's up to the queen and the bees that have overwintered to make a whole bunch of new baby bees so that they can go out into the environment and take advantage of all the plants that are going to bloom right now in this spring period. They need to get out there, get as much pollen as they can, and more importantly, get as much nectar as they can so they can turn that into honey. And it's going to be their jobs to store enough of that nectar and change it into honey so that they can overwinter when there is no food available to them in their environment and they cannot fly out and get it. So it is important right now that a beehive make as many bees as they can so they can take advantage of all those nectar sources that you are going to see in the springtime. So when you see all those pretty flowers, yes, they're pretty, but the bees need that nectar and pollen that those flowers produce. It's a great symbiotic relationship that the bees and insects have with plants because the plants need to be pollinated. And when bees go from flower to flower, they carry pollen with them from flower to flower, which pollinates the plants and produces seeds so that the plants can have, if you will, their babies for next year.